was Elizabeth, Queen of England, also known as the Virgin Queen. She was born on September 7 in 1533. She was the only child that Henry VIII, her father, and Anne Boleyn, his second wife, had together. Anne Boleyn, her mother, died when Elizabeth was only 2.5 years old, and that meant a sudden loss of status for young Elizabeth, who suddenly was no longer an heir to the throne. But Elizabeth was an ambitious and dedicated student who loved studying languages and continued to do so for the rest of her life, both for fun and mental discipline. Henry became so proud of his daughter that he decided to reinstate her in the succession in 1544. Elizabeth then became queen in 1558 after the death of her sister, Queen Mary. But that was only the beginning of Elizabeth's eventful life. Men wanted to marry her, but not to gain her love, only to win over her power. And she was also many times assassinated, also by her own family. Now, Elizabeth never got married, which was really unusual for women at this time. That meant that the Tudor dynasty ended with her death in 1603. Today, we are so incredibly lucky to meet the amazing Queen Elizabeth. We are going to meet her by traveling with a new time machine, iTime. Let's go.
Space unicorn, soaring through the stars.
Good evening, and thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us here today. And if you could tell us a little bit about your early family life.
Oh, well, I was only 2 years old when my mother, Anne Boleyn, was beheaded on the request of my father, King Henry VIII. I did not live with my father after that, but I lived with my sister Mary in the north of London. I was very lucky though, because I got proper tutoring and I loved music and languages. I could speak fluent Latin, French and German.
That's really impressive. And how exactly did you become queen, and when?
Well, after my father died, my brother Edward became king. After he died in 1553, my half-sister, Mary became queen. The relationship between me and her was simply terrible, for she was a Roman Catholic and I was a Protestant. She was suspicious that me and other Protestants were plotting against her, and she had me taken to the tower. Those times were terrible. Well, after a while, she released us, and then it was not long before she died of cancer, and I became Queen of France, England, and Ireland. That was in the year 1558.
That's interesting. And in your opinion, what is the main difference between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church?
Oh, I must say, my opinion is that we both believe in God, and that is the only thing that matters.
You have a point. But how did you fix the riot between the Catholic people?
I just simply gathered the churches and combined them into one English church.
That's really clever. Now, many of your watchers may be wondering why you never got married, and especially not to Lord Robert, who I assume was the love of your life.
Oh, that is correct. That is correct. Well, for me, it's really simple. For if a woman is married, she must obey the orders of her husband. And for example, if I were to marry anyone, then I would lose the power to rule with my intuition and do what I believe is best for my people. If I were to marry Lord Robert, I would have little as no say in England's matter, and that is something I could never do.
That's truly inspiring, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
And how long have you been ruling over England?
I was 25 years old when I became queen, and that was in the year 1558. Now it's 1602, so that has been 44 years, and I am still alive and ruling.
Thank you. That was all. for tonight.
My pleasure.